Ever wondered, hey, one of the monarchs in history got charged for their crimes? Okay, well, to find out the answer to my own question, I spent the last 6 days huddled in a dark bedroom reading about Henry. And let me tell you, one thing became apparent very quickly. Henry is getting thrown in jail faster than you can say royal reckoning. I'll be ranking his offenses from petty misdemeanors to crimes so disgusting and perverted.
Let's begin with Henry's first official crime, which was imprisoning and executing his father's tax ministers to gain public favor, which he knowingly did was a crime, which comes under abuse of power plus executions, for which he is punishable for about 10 years of imprisonment. Seems incredibly serious, but it's nothing compared to what's more he has done. Instead of executing them, he could have just fired them and started a PR campaign. Launch a tax reform, not a head removal reform.
Secondly, in the year 1517, Henry executed John Lincoln and others for leading riots, which is harsh punishment for civil unrest, despite they pleaded for mercy. What happened was, Londoners protested foreign workers. Henry responded with gallows, not guidance. But our King Henry, instead of creating jobs, he created corpses, which comes under the act of excessive use of capital punishment, and he could potentially be put in jail for 15 years.
Next, Anne Boleyn's execution on 1536. Henry beheaded his second wife on likely false charges of adultery and incest. Henry got bored, made up charges, and called it so-called justice. Like literally, he could have just divorced her if divorce wasn't dramatic enough, but he wanted a season finale. Or maybe he needed a couple therapy at that era. And there counts a life imprisonment.
Then comes dissolution of the monasteries. Henry seized church lands, and also he destroyed monasteries and displaced thousands. Why? It was just because Henry wanted cash and control, so he bulldozed centuries of tradition. I think their monks don't pay taxes. Or he could just do tax reform and donation drives. Maybe a royal bake sale. It adds up. 25 years of imprisonment.
Then pilgrimage of grace suppression, the time when Henry crushed peaceful rebellion. I literally feel sorry for this guy. Like, what not he had done till now. He literally executed hundreds this time. Just because people protested the monastery closures, Henry just responds with mass executions. Thinking with right mind, he should have just listened to the people, or maybe even pretend to care. But no, because Henry didn't want it to be a normal human. Get it? He just wanted to be different, for sake of self-satisfaction detention. And for mass genocide, it's a life imprisonment.
He doesn't stop there. Next up, execution of Cromwell and Catherine Howard, both done within 3 years. Like, what the? Henry beheaded his chief minister and fifth wife because Cromwell arranged a bad marriage. Catherine was a teenager accused of cheating, imprisoning him to a 2-life sentence of jail, accused of domestic abuse with political assassination. Really? I am sick of him. Like, he loves taking lives. Or maybe, for God's sake, he could just frickin' fire Cromwell and ground Catherine, and man, not everything needs a scaffold.
Then, the great execution of Margaret Pole in the year 1541. He didn't or couldn't even rest and just check that Margaret was old geezer, a 67-year-old noblewoman. Henry thought she was the greatest threat to him. Like, hell yeah, a 67-year-old geezer's threat to him? She was the last Plantagenet heir and could be after Henry's throne. That's why Henry just happened to think, while in the bathroom randomly, that Margaret is a threat. She's old, royal, and breathing? That's suspicious. I should just kill her. And it's an elder abuse with a political assassination putting Henry to a 30-year sentence.
Henry VIII wasn't just feared for harsh punishments. By today's standards, some choices would set off every alarm. His fifth wife, Catherine Howard, was very young, about 17, while he was in his late 40s. Huge age gap, clear power imbalance. The court stayed volatile, the marriage went ahead, and within 2 years, she was accused of misconduct and executed under Tudor law. Through a modern legal lens, alleged coercion, abuse of power, and responsibility for her death could stack into serious charges, likely decades behind bars if proven in court.
And I forgot to mention, he had a greatest obsession, what a king must have, and that's obsession with virginity. Heck yeah! Henry demanded his wives be virgins and often had them inspected or interrogated. I mean, it doesn't really make sense no matter what angle I think about it. Henry VIII invented the Tudor version of toxic masculinity, and this virginity obsession gives him 10 years of imprisonment for offending sexual and emotional abuse.
And he was the worst man at his time, I must say, because he had goddamn 6 wives, many chosen for beauty or fertility, and he just casually discarded them when bored or politically inconvenienced. I mean, that's no romance. It's monarchy-level objectification. Henry didn't need Tinder. He had a throne and an axe, with 15 years of imprisonment for giving psychological abuse.
And his closest advisors lived in fear of sudden execution. And Henry used to gaslight on a national level by constantly shifting religious laws, then punished people for not keeping up, which is extra 30 years imprisonment. In my opinion, Henry could have been a reformer, a unifier, even a Renaissance icon. Instead, he chose to be the Tudor Terminator and winding up every crime he did, and it comes to a conclusion that he could be getting life imprisonment 6 times, plus 175 years of jail with no chance of getting out again ever. If he'd swapped his sword for a spreadsheet, England might have had fewer ghosts and more growth.
So there you have it. Henry VIII, the original royal drama king, who treated marriage like a game of musical chairs and governance like a medieval episode of Survivor. 6 wives, 2 beheadings, 1 church split, and 0 chill. If Tinder had existed back then, his bio would have read, "Looking for love, must enjoy castles, coronations, and occasional executions." Instead of therapy, he chose tyranny. Instead of listening to his people, he listened to his ego, on full blast, 24/7. He gaslit England so hard, the candles melted. And let's not forget his HR policy. If you disappoint me, you're either fired or decapitated. No middle ground. Honestly, if Henry had just taken up gardening or started a podcast called How to Lose a Wife in 10 Days, history might have been a lot less bloody. But no, he went full monarch mayhem. So, if you ever feel like your life is chaotic, just remember, at least you're not Henry VIII, who turned heartbreak into homicide and ruled like a toddler with a crown. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't behead your problems, talk them out.
And also about Henry's son, that's a whole other level of royal chaos. If you thought Henry VIII was bad, chopping wives, torching monasteries, and gaslighting an entire kingdom, his son, Edward VI, took the throne and said, "Hold my goblet." Edward may have been just a teenager, but don't let the babyface fool you. Behind the scenes, his reign was like a Tudor horror sequel. More religious extremism, more executions, and a ruthless push to erase anything remotely Catholic. Think of him as the kid who inherited Dad's axe and added a flamethrower. He didn't just continue the Reformation, he turbocharged it, turning England into a theological battlefield. And while Henry at least had some flair for drama, Edward's rule was cold, calculated, and disturbingly efficient. If you want a full disclosure, I am on it, and comment if you want to know so bad.